Okay. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for the wonderful support of Galerie Liang and Opse project. Tonight, I will present my latest drawing, Mediterraneo Infinito. I am a landscape architect and visual artist, and I'm exploring the relationship between anthropic space and natural environment through the representation of landscapes and cityscapes using black ink and the gold leaf. Drawings for me is a research practice, as an extension of my landscape architecture profession. I like to consider every drawing a landscape story, because it is the result of a sum of elements like knowledge, experience, and memories. During my practice as landscape architect, I learned that the deeper our knowledge is, the more details we are able to recognize and see. One of the questions that I constantly ask in my practice is, what is landscape and what is made of? Well, a landscape is not just a view. It is nothing but a moment in a very slow movement that has been flowing for thousands and thousands of years. But above all, it is a subjective place. Each of us has a different perception of the landscape. Based on our life experience, it serves as the visual memory of our past, our daily life, and the foundation upon which to build our future. The landscape is our great heritage, a unique and irreplaceable asset. The landscape is our most precious common good because it compasses, summarizes, and synthesizes all others. It is a living, dynamic place, animated by feelings, stories, tales, memories, colors, smells, sounds, and languages. The landscape is where traces of its inhabitants, their habits, and their way of life come to life. It is the soul of a community, the mirror in which its intimacy is reflected. This is why representing the essence of the landscape is not merely a technical exercise, but a social gesture, like art. And I'm really happy to share this moment with you tonight. In my latest drawing, Mediterraneo Infinito, I attempted to encapsulate a piece of the Mediterranean landscape situated in the region of Puglia, where I grew up. The French historian Fernand Braudel, when pondering what the Mediterranean was, in his study wrote that it is 1,000 things together. It is not one landscape, but numerous landscapes. It is not one sea, but a complex of seas. The Mediterranean is a space in movement. From the impression gathered during the journey undertaken by Cesare Malpica from Naples to Puglia at the end of the 1840, later described in the book The Gardens of Italy, Le Puglie, the author wrote, "If I were a painter, I will paint this road that looks like a long avenue of flourishing garden. These verdant plants that inhabitants make sprout among the rocks, this countryside, and the sea where the evening ray descends peacefully. These farmers returning from their daily toil, softly singing a cheerful song. And amidst this sweet harmony of people and things, amidst this solemn silence of nature, I will paint all those little houses that rise among the vegetation surrounding them." The landscape of Puglia includes the coast, the olive groves, the vineyards, the prairies of the Alta Murgia, the wet fields of the Tavoliere, the trulli of the Itria Valley, the Mediterranean scrub. The ancient building of Masserie, with their lemon garden and curtain wall painted with lime, are specular to the wide open garden made by olive trees row surrounding them. But among the anthropic elements, natural elements such as the lame reign supreme. Represented with gold leaf, lame are shallow natural furrows in the ground that channel rainwater from the geological plateau towards the closure point of the watershed to which they belong. Although they are inhospitable places, they are very fertile lands and play a fundamental role in ecological balance. Besides hosting vegetation and fauna typical of the Mediterranean scrub, they are the direct link between the hills and the coast and serve as and serve the function to transport natural material useful for the formation of the sand itself. What I see in the landscape of Apulia, it is a garden with no border, where every element participates to entire system, like a garden. I want to close this presentation with the word of Lucida Hurtado, a Venezuelan-born American painter that in the early 20s summed up the vision of the landscape in these words. This is a landscape. This is the world. This is all you have. This is your home. This is where you live. You are what you feel, what you hear, what you know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, and I just wondered about the presentation, or in general about your artwork. What's your motivation? Why do you do those landscapes? Why do you focus your attention on landscapes?
So what I focus, actually, it comes from something that I have in my background, that I usually notice some stuff that are on those places or in some particular places. And it comes from what I read, what I study, what interests me. And I try with my drawing to push these elements in places that can be recognized. So there is no really motivation to do that, but it's like an exercise. It's like a searching research that I made about my profession.
And if I can have one more question. Sorry, no, I'm just wondering about the, not the motivation, but how would you like to, or do you intend to open your project to people as well? Because for now it's you doing the research and the drawings. So is it any plan for the future that you would like to involve the audience, for example, or how do you want to involve the viewer in your drawings?
Well, this at the moment I am collecting, so I'm producing some new art. The next one will be on about historical gardens. Also some places here in Berlin that I already noticed it. And so with my art, of course, I want to show you to people that love it. And I already did some exhibition last month here in Berlin. And of course, art is something that you share with people that love the same stuff. So it's something that you enjoy to look and to have and to watch and to stare also. So my plan for the future is to continue to drawings and to meet people that loves my art, actually. So that's it.
Okay, I have one question. So I need a little bit of explaining. So there are a series of the works are on paper, these ones, and all of them are done, right? Or you keep going? It's an ongoing project.
So this is just a drawing about Mediterranean. Yeah. One piece about Mediterranean. I have some other pieces about places that I already visited. For example, I started to draw while I was working for the General Urban Plan of Lecce. It's a city in Apulia. And there, for example, in the whole town, there are a lot of gardens that nobody knows, because nobody has studied these places and is pushing them to the side of everyone. And for example, while looking for these places and studied books about these places, I noticed that there were like gems in the whole town and also in landscape that needed to be pushing out, so to push out these places. So I like to draw like in a series, because every drawing, I think that also different places are connected about themes that recur a lot. For example, water is usually an element that is constant in landscape and also in the gardens. But also the seriality of elements that usually are in a landscape. I like to play with this pattern because every pattern has like a significance also for the urban plan, has a meaning. So I like to use this pattern, but find also new pattern that can express the elements that I want to mark.
I have to do also the second part of the question. The second part, the most fun is, so the artistic process of finding what you want to do next, the next part of your series, what does it involve? Does it mean you have to travel, you have to walk the city a lot, meet people, or do online research? What do you actually do?
Usually is places that I visit. So, and I visit places because I am interested or I have studied that. So usually are places that I visit and they give me something about what I see. And it's like a change from landscape to me and to art. So usually it's about traveling and studying, reading, and because when I see something in a place and I don't know what actually is it, but I see that there is something, I usually make research about it and find something that can give me some histories or because there are places. So usually landscape is an artificial place, even if they looks like natural. For example, also pine grove. Pine grove is in Italy is usually artificial because they were built up in the 80s. So, but nobody knows that if you do not know those places or you study those places. So.
Thank you. We have one.
First of all, your work is beautiful, and I find it interesting that we're both architects, and my work is inspired in cities and yours in landscapes. Although you say it's planned, but it's not natural, but it's organic. And I work with colors, you work in black and white. I was just wondering, the photos are made by drones? The photos that you used, you projected, are they? Do you work with drones?
A friend of mine uses it, but usually I do pictures also from point of view. So I try always to go on eye point of view to bring the main view of the landscape.
Yes, because I'm very interested also in the bird's eye view. It's very interesting your work with paper. Is it ink? You work with ink?
Okay, I work with fine liner and ink. But the black one that you saw, it was watercolor, really dense. And so it depends also from the paper and what the kind of work I have to draw. Because for example, this one was animated paper and it's a big one. And for the small one that I'm going to do with a series of gardens, it's from Arches, and it's really, so it's not raw, it's really smooth, yeah.
When I graduated in architecture, it was a long time ago. There was no AutoCAD, so we had to draw everything with pen and ink. I think it's beautiful, your work.
I'm abstract painter and very colorful. I see yours as documentary. Like you're documenting where you design landscape and then you go around researching, and to me it looks like you love landscape and then you document. But I have a question that how do you document your feelings because, black and white, and it's a kind of very architecturally correct, and the tangibility or your personal feelings to the history, to the place.
So, if I understood right, your answer is that what are my feelings in my heart is actually the choose that I do on what to represent. Because usually what I choose to represent meaning something for me. And for example, in these drawings, I think that I pulled my whole childhood. And it comes also from memories from my past, but also, for example, I went also to Sicily, and there, for me, it was like a discovering place. And I made some drawings about Sicily because of these places were really some gems in those places that could be not anywhere. So what I put in my heart is something that is really specific of those places that you can recognize only if you know them, because if you just pass out, you will not see that those places have something special or something to gives you. I hope that I answered the question.
Technically, how do you achieve that?
Technical comes from, when it's like an extension of what I did in architecture, because I usually draw, when I do, for example, perspective or some images of my project, I usually use Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, and I like to use pattern with Adobe Illustrator. So this, but before this, there is also a mental process, because you have to choose where goes to, what goes, in which places goes. So for this, it's like drawing with hand comes first, because you have to choose or you have to make a sketch about what you want to represent. And for example, I usually use this difference with patterns to see these are trees, these are, for example, grass, or these are the street or something. So it's giving them an expression that it's different to another. So there are different elements that speak one language together. So my background is actually from architecture and digital illustration.
You have more? Oh, one more.
First of all, thank you for coming today, and thank you for the great presentation. I really love the style you used to describe the landscape, and also I researched some of your works online, and I saw a lot of different styles you used, and not only the illustrative style, but also some other styles. I'm wondering, because all of your works are analog, if I have right. So I also like to drawing, and I'm wondering, during the process, which emotion or what you will while you drawing, what will you think? Because I think it's a long process to drawing with the water painting and also the black lines, and how it becomes to the very complex image. I'm wondering to know how the emotion during the painting, and how it's a development from the past to here, really illustrative styles painting.
Thank you for your question. So when I draw with hand, it's really different from when I work with illustration, for example, Adobe Illustration, because when I draw, it's a long process and takes you to think about it or not to think about it at all. So it's just a series of lines that comes one to another, and I already decided what to draw. So I already have a mental scheme of what I will draw, and it's just taking the flow until the end. So the emotion that prevails is relax, actually, that's it. And what you saw, for example, in my website is because I am going to evolve actually, because you saw also some project that I made about architecture that actually is not art, it's architecture, because they speak about regulation, they speak about spaces, real spaces that should be built. So there are some other technical stuff inside. About art, it's the freedom that I can have to decide my law that I want to follow. So I think that the process came from a need of freedom that architecture actually can give me. So because there are some limits, some borders.